Bonjour. What's up, Milo? What's up, Roro? And Robs, how are you all doing? Look at me, actually on time for a change. What's up, Daz Gaming? I appreciate the love, my friend. What's up, Lindsay? How are you doing? Alright, should we flip this around? Hold on. Let's get everything together that I need. Bonjour. What's up, Marie? How you doing? You silver badge. Has that been silver for a while now or not? I can't really remember. We have a look. Let's see where I want to see where people are at the minute, because I know a few people are about to sort of change their badge. Let's have a look. So Cat is actually now the highest. Cat is at 17 months. Dobby 16. David Kim at 14. Likewise Marie. Likewise Lillian. And likewise Donna Brown. So yeah, a little while yet. I think the next one is 2 years, isn't it? So it's not going to tick over for a little while yet. But Troy is at 11 months currently. So that is close to ticking over. Very close. Changing from bronze to silver. Cool. Right, let me just get out of there a second and we'll come back to where we are meant to be doing, or what we're meant to be doing. And I will catch up with what you're all chatting about. Okay, cool. Right, who's here? God, what's going on? Fatima, how are you doing? I'm excited, can't wait, I appreciate it. What's up, Judith? My video won't play. Any suggestions? Close the app, maybe load it back up. Lindsay says, I'm good, Joel, how are you? I'm very good, thank you. We are back from a wedding at the weekend, which I'm going to fill you all in on because there's some absolute stories from that to tell you about. But yeah, very good. Based on the weekend, I didn't think I was going to be streaming this week, but we're here. We're good. We feel good. What I'm going to do before we carry on is, if you're a patron, you'll have already seen a drawing I did on the Friday, a painting I did on the Friday of a robin, and I've kind of got a bit of an itch for it at the minute for drawing birds, but also using the watercolor brushes. They're not the best ones, to be honest, that are built into Procreate, but I've got a bit of an itch for just doing it. So I'm going to sort of today go through the process from start to finish on how you could maybe draw something like this a little bit easier, talk you through some of the steps of it, and I'm just going to paint this parrot, but all freehand, just using that somewhat as a reference, but using a grid to try and break things down. So using a grid is really useful because you can take a look at this, and if I zoom in, we've kind of got 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles across the top by 6 down, and then you just look at each tile and work out what's in each section, and replicate it across. So you've got 4 across, so you pick 4 tiles across over here somewhere, and then you will do the sketch like so. So I've already done this once before, which is why I've already got like a whole bunch of layers, but I wanted to practice it. This is kind of what my end result is gonna look like. Kind of very loose painting. You can see that there's not too much definition in the wings. I want to try and keep it quite loose and quick, but that's kind of my goal, and that nice sort of watercolor look to it. So you may learn some stuff in terms of sort of a breakdown of taking a photograph and how to create it. It's also a way of actually being able to scale things up and down easier. So if I wanted to, say for instance, paint this on a wall, you do the same method. You would measure the wall, you would break it down into 4 by 6, and then each tile you would just sketch it on the wall, replicate it for size in terms of each tile, and then you've got, before you know it, you've built up the whole sketch. You'll have built up a sketch kind of similar to this one like on a wall or something where you've got your guide in order to crack on. So it's just a bit of practice for me really, so I can redo the sketch once again. Yeah, and it's just something that I already had lined up to go. So that's what we're going to do today, and that'll be the plan. What's up, Jesse? How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see everyone as well. I sometimes a 2-week break, well, like a bi-weekly stream is really nice because there's a lot more to catch up on in a way from that time off, but also you get time to sort of miss it as well. What's up, Kevin? How you doing? Lindsay says, well, you would, Joel. If you did it on a wall, it would be a mess. Well, yeah, true. I wouldn't be able to tap with 2 fingers and undo it. That would be my problem. So yeah, let's get into this. It's a bit tricky when the iPad's in portrait, but we'll go with it. Cool. So yeah, what we had tutorial wise in the time that we've been off. So it wasn't last Wednesday; it was the Wednesday before. So we've had the cherry blossom YouTube tutorial. That was awesome. That has gone down really, really well. I'm really pleased with that. I'm very happy with the response that people gave to it, which is awesome. I'm going to just quickly lower this down a little bit before we get into getting this sketch done. That was very good. Good response to that. What else is there? What else did we miss out? What else did we see YouTube wise? Come on, somebody remind me. I can't remember anymore. What was the week before the cherry blossom? 117, and it was come on, someone knows it. Cherry blossom before that. Was it the love design? It would have been the love design. Yeah, it was, surely. It was. I got it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the help. So when you're looking at this, you want to look at the tiles, just as an idea here. And I always kind of look for simple shapes. So if we're just looking at this tile here for a second, the entry point of the head is roughly about sort of halfway up. And it's also sort of halfway here as well. And it's as simple as just creating an arc to start with. And then we'll get into creating these other shapes as well. But just as simple as that, that's all it needs to be. So looking at sort of entry points and exit points are really kind of helpful with this kind of replication. I might go 6B instead. Tends to be a little bit more solid. I tap with 2 fingers on my notepad, I mean physical. And yeah, I've seen people do stuff like that where they're like, someone, I saw it was on a Yanamize, who's like a creator in the UK, and his friend had an image on printed out on some paper, and he was trying to pinch with 2 fingers because it was a print out of Instagram, and he was trying to pinch with 2 fingers to zoom in on a physical piece of paper, and that's just like sums up all of us. The things we get so used to doing and just seeing Instagram on a photo is you think, oh, okay, yeah, that's got to be doable, right? So I'm just making my way down the back here. So we're going to go through the whole process, but this is the Robin tutorial as well. So if you are a patron and you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The Robin tutorial will be a similar sort of sequence of tasks that we've got to get done, such as the sketch and also obviously the painting part at the end as well. I don't always trace. Sometimes when I trace, it's more for the matter of I'm providing you with a stencil and that's it, that you can go from there. But I think this is a really interesting thing to teach people if they've never seen it before, because I thought to myself, I thought, well, I know the process because I've seen people do it before, but some people might not have. So I think it's quite a good thing to know. But it's also, I would say, that little step up from drawing with a stencil or tracing. I would argue that this is that middle ground. This is that middle ground between creating content from a stencil, just drawing on top, and then trying to complete that step yourself. So I'm just looking for basic shapes. You're not interested in too many of the feathers and stuff. The only things I'm kind of looking for, I'll show you with like a brighter tone. Let's go with like a bright yellow, shall we? So I've come down the back there. Let's make that a bit bigger so you can see. We're going to come down the back here. That's what I see. I see like one continuous arc all the way down to the back. And then I see a line here and then a line here. So we separate those. That's pretty straightforward. And then here we've got another line that's round here. I would argue then, obviously, it's fairly obvious that these ones up here, but we have a line that kind of runs round here where we've got some feathers on top. And then the face is pretty straightforward. You know, we've got to separate the orange area. We've got to separate the beak, and likewise the white from the green. So that's kind of what I see, and that's what we can then just break down with the stencil. And then it's more a matter of just chucking the color on afterwards and just seeing what sticks really, and what we like the look of. But that's with the Robin tutorial. That's like I said, that's going to have the stencil part in it. But I am aware that some people would probably struggle with the stencil part and may not want to progress, or are not at that stage in their sort of art journey. So I am providing my stencil that I end up creating in the video, and they can just skip ahead if needs be, because I think it's nice to make sure to accommodate for everyone. Everyone's at different stages, and they can come back to it maybe if they want to. So is that right? That goes to that tile there. That tile there is straight up from there. So we will sketch around from here. We've got a little bit of a feather runs around here. And then I'm gonna just try to get that sort of rough shape in. Also, with the Robin tutorial as well, I kind of make a point at the beginning, exactly the same as what I'm doing now, is you don't have to meticulously spend time trying to match up perfectly to the animal or the photograph, your reference photo. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to always match, and end of the day you're just creating I don't know, this bird's friend or whatever, just a different version of the parrot. So you shouldn't ever stress about trying to match it up perfectly. It's kind of a bit of a get out of jail free card, but it is true. So looking at the mouth here, this is going to be a bit of a tricky part, and I think I need to try and nail this down, but let me come and see what you guys are up to. How did you get the grid over the canvas? So I go to actions, we go to the canvas tab, and we can turn on the drawing guide and edit the drawing guide. So my canvas is set to, I can't remember how many pixels across, but it's 2,500, oh, it must be 2,500 across. Sorry, 1,500 across is one of them. I'm not going to back out, because if I back out, well, actually I could do, I'll just switch the camera around. What I'm trying to get at is you kind of want to set your grid size to something that nicely matches your canvas size. So my canvas size is 2,500 by 1,500. So 2,500 horizontally by 1,500 vertically. And so if I flick that back around, set in your grid size to 250 for in this example, will nicely fit obviously within the canvas size to a nice scale. So I wouldn't, when you draw from a grid like this, I wouldn't ever make it any smaller than this. You're kind of, it doesn't need to be broken down that small, to be honest. That would be making it a bit too small. So Judith, I'm glad to have you here. It's awesome. We do these every Wednesday. Well, most Wednesdays when I'm not busy doing something else. But yeah. Oh, should we just talk? Right. So last Wednesday I wasn't here. That's why I wasn't here last Wednesday, because I went to a friend's wedding. So we went up the day before, which was cool. And then we stayed in this like really cool, kind of like a man cave. Like it had like a pool table, PlayStations, big telly, dartboard. Really good fun on the Friday. On the Wednesday night before the wedding, and then everybody came up and joined us on the day, of course. Just just looking at that looks really off. Get rid of this. So they came up and joined us then on the Thursday morning of the wedding, which was, so I get thrown off by my drawing. That was awesome. They came up and joined us on the Wednesday, and then from there, awesome day, beautiful venue as well. Like, the venue was really cool. Had this massive room, but they managed to like switch it round into all 3 different types of the days. So like the meal, the ceremony, and the dancing and stuff, and it was awesome. And the day was great. Like the day was perfect. And then like about 11:30, the groom just like, I can see him at the bar just hanging around for a bit, and then he just vanishes. And I'm thinking to myself for a little while, I'm thinking, if he's gone toilet, he's been gone for a while. He's been gone for too long. And I'm like, nah, it's too long. I'll go check on him. And I get to the toilet. He is passed out, sat upright on the bog, completely out of it, and just completely gone, completely gone, blacked out, drunk, just being propped up by the lousy position that he was in already. And he was completely gone. Eyes sort of not really listening to anything. Like they're just dancing around in his head. And then, so I'm thinking, like initially I'm like laughing. Like I'm like, oh no, how has he got himself in this state? But then I'm thinking, oh no, he's pretty bad. So I'm not going to get into too many details like graphic wise, but I'm going to take you on a journey through the whole day, through the whole of the evening. So I find him, and then me and my friend was also, we were joint best men, which was cool. That was really cool as well. I'll come back to that in a minute. But he comes into the toilet somewhat getting the same vibe that I must have of like, hang on, he's been gone for a while here. Where is he? And he comes in, and we're just like wetting ourselves at this. Like we tried to get him up. He was completely gone. Like, and when I'm talking, like, his legs were gone. Like, they were not listening to his body at all. So we pick him up. He just hits the deck, and he's just out. And we're like, he's just like eyes rolling back, completely out of it. We're obviously wetting ourselves still. And then I'm not gonna get too graphic, but he throws up. Like, he's lying on the floor like this. He throws up all over the side of his face. He's basically like acting as a mop, like in the sick. We drag him away from it. He throws up again. It was like, if any of you have seen Family Guy, where like there's scenes in the family, isn't there, where like one will throw up and then they all start going. It was like that. Like, I saw him throw up, and then I threw up in the toilet, in the sink beside him, trying to look after him. I'm there struggling to like, try and hold myself together. So he starts throwing up on himself, basically. It's just an absolute disaster. So then I'm at the door, like watching people like not come in. I'm like, guys, you can't come in. Like, he's well out of it. You can like use the other bogs. And then his parents catch wind of it, and then they come in and obviously wanted to do their bit to look after him, even though he was in obviously really good hands. And before you know it, we're dragging him out like he is like he's a body. Like, that's all. Like, all he is a body. He's getting dragged out, one person per limb. We end up chucking him outside on the ground, and he's just still gone. We end up having to get a member of staff to get a golf cart that they have on the estate, to get one of the golf carts. We put him on, and I'm hanging on to the side of this golf cart because he sat in the chair in the passenger seat. I'm hanging off the side of this golf cart, holding on for dear life. And I mean, we weren't going fast, but I'd had a few, so it felt like we were in like Too Fast, Too Furious. So I'm sat there hanging on. And he can't hack it again. So he just leans over towards me and just throws up. I have to split my legs, and he just chucks it all through my groin. I'm there like basically twerking on the side of this golf cart, like, because I'm sticking my ass out because I'm trying to like go, whoa, this is a rental, like, calm down. So I'm holding on. He's just throwing up all the way through my legs. I'm holding on. And it was just a mess. We get him back. Anyway, his sister chucks him in the shower. She's trying to like wake him up. Nothing coming around. We end up having to ring an ambulance after him. This is his wedding day. We end up having to ring an ambulance to just come and check on him because we're just not quite sure he's going to make it. And so he's just an absolute state. And I'm trying to keep the bride away. I'm saying to like our friends, like, just keep her away. She cannot be near it at all. She's got to be away. And she comes barging down though. She ain't having any of it, and she wants to see. She's just fuming, obviously, with the state that he's got himself in. And so we go away in an ambulance. This is at like 1 o'clock in the morning. The ambulance then takes us away. I decide to go with the bride, and I'm just sat in hospital basically with him till about, well, we get picked up by our friend again at 5 o'clock in the morning, and like 4 hours had passed obviously in this period of time, and I'm thinking like, I could kill this man, he's in the right place for it. Like, the longer we're in there, the longer I'm thinking like, I'm knackered, and he is just like, he's just fighting a hangover in the hospital. He's not rowing, but he's like somewhat getting a bit aggy with the nurses. They're laughing at him though, because he turned into like a little bit of a celebrity really, because like everybody would come over and be like, right, what's the matter then? And we'd be like, well, I'd have to tell him the story every single time. Well, this is his wedding day. This is his now wife, and he's had too much to drink. He's completely blacked out, and yeah, here we are. So yeah, I was knackered. We get back to the hotel, the venue, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning by the time we get back there from the hospital, and I'm absolutely shattered. Mrs. Crate goes down for breakfast. She's like, "You come in?" I said, "Absolutely no chance. I'm staying in bed. I am completely shattered." And me being me, I know I'm thinking, this is me done for the week. Like, I'm going to be absolutely done in. But I came back and we slept through. Well, I slept through all of it. But it was just crazy. It's like you said, it was like a scene from a film. Like, it was just crazy. But it was great. And we're just taking the mick out of him now. So that was my friend's wedding. Yeah, I think he found out basically that there was a tab behind the bar that they'd obviously paid for, but not been utilising. So he just went to town on it basically. So absolutely mental. David said, "Sup, dude? I love your work. I'm learning lots." Oh, it's awesome. I'm glad to be a part of your Procreate journey. You say, where I buy the platform for the iPad? It's a Sketchboard Pro. There's a link to it. I should be in the description down below. I believe should be a link in there. If not, I'm pretty sure Milo might have it. So it's not so much a case. It's like it's a easel almost to put your iPad into. So yeah, so not you can carry your iPad in it. I wouldn't recommend it personally, but yeah, it's more of like just a drawing easel. It's better ergonomics when you're drawing. They do make them for like all of the iPads pretty much. Let's undo that because that doesn't quite fit the positioning. And then we end up having like this shoulder area just here. So I'm gonna catch back up on this a second, and then we'll carry on. So yeah, big lessons learned as well. I will not be getting anywhere near like that on mine, which is not for a while yet. We've got like a little area back here where we've got the yellow that runs down the back of there too. and then that kind of just runs round here into there. We then have some longer feathers. So now this is the point where I was saying a second ago, you don't have to always match it up perfectly. You know, I'm just going to start sketching in some of the feathers, just to sort of guidelines really as to where they're all going, some sort of direction like this. And then these ones over here, we end up having some sort of rounder feathers there. That's fine. Rounder feather here as well. And then they all kind of just sort of go in this direction. They kind of curve round from that point down here, and then round the back as well. So that's like how you would go about creating that. So what you can always do is, this is a little tip in case you do want to try and sort of do that whole sketch process, drag it over the top and just see how well you did. If I get that as close to where I think it lines up, there's a few things that are off, like this log at the back, not interested really. But if I line up, say, the beak, I can see there that I've probably given too much to the right. Although, have I? It's almost like it's in the middle. The head of mine is slightly higher, slightly more raised off to the left. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It matches up a lot of the main areas. Just the head is in a slightly, I would say, a bit more pronounced position in mine rather than the photograph. So yeah, and then we'll keep that little cheeky gap in there as well. I think we're good. So we'll go from there. Thank you, Milo, I appreciate it for dropping in the link. Lindsay says, I've been wanting to ask a really stupid Procreate question, but the color profiles when setting up your canvas, do they matter? They will matter somewhat. So some different profiles will saturate more of the colors. They use a different spectrum of colors, so they will change the colors somehow. Mine's always set to display P3, I think, but that is sometimes also dependent on so mine's set to display P3. That's sometimes dependent on the screen that you have on your iPad. So like P3 is, I believe, a huge spectrum of color, but like if you were to print, you would only want to use I don't know what the profile's called. It might not be sRGB. CMKY, I believe. Let me just test this alert. I swear I keep seeing or hearing the alert, but I don't see it. Oh no, there it is. Yes, so that does make a difference. So it's not a stupid question, that's a very good one. CMKY, I believe, is the spectrum. Now, one thing you'll notice before I carry on, the one I drew earlier, the wash in the background is like a bluey green, and I will get to that, but that's not my sketch for today. This is not my sketch from today either. This is. So I will get to that eventually. Right now, they will be brown to follow the photograph, and then after that, I'll show you how you could go about changing that. So let's get in here with some colors. So this is always a really fun process, but I will say these watercolor brushes, they aren't the best. The built-in ones, they're not going to be something you can use quite frequently. Like this wash one is fine, you know, it does what it's got to do in the background. We'll chuck in some color. It's not necessary to spend too much time dwelling over where the color sits, but something like that with some lighter tones in there too. So I'm not matching that photograph at all. I'm just trying to chuck in some color in the background just to give us something, and we'll change it to green anyway in a second or two. Just want to get like a sort of rectangular block of color with the wash. And you'll also notice, or you may not, if I zoom right in, there's actually a texture on here as well. So that is going to be available in the Robin tutorial. So it will already have the texture on it. You won't need to do anything. It'll be fine. Rob says, yes, I'm confused about all the profiles. I get the RGB CMKY. CMYK, but all the others have really long names and numbers, which I don't understand. Yeah, I think if you've got a particular purpose for what you're creating a canvas for, then you would probably already know the answer to that, or otherwise Google it. But yeah, I don't think it's something to stress over. Kevin says that story reminds me of when I was in the army and the CQ came to my room in the barracks and told me I had to come get my roommate and take him to hospital. Jeez. Rob says, oh no, I lost the whole chat. My internet went down. Well, we're still here. It's all good. It's all good. Right, let's chuck in some more colour in here. And then I don't like the colour, and I never liked it when I did it the first time, so I just go to hue saturation. We'll change this to a lovely green colour, something a bit more like this. Let me just get up the how far on my computer I've got the, I've gone too far. Yeah, so it was quite a saturated green, so we'll increase the saturation up a little bit. Bring that green down to a little bit more like this. And what you can then do, which I saw a YouTuber do it, and I can't remember who it was, you can grab your selection tool, make a selection, like a random selection, tap on the dot, feather that selection, so that just feathers out the gap, so it kind of blends out the gap a little bit, and then go straight. Hello. Oh yes, we're back, but the camera's not back, so we'll carry on trying to troubleshoot. Before I carry on though, if you want to know who that groom actually is, it's Matt with 2 T's. So you can just just laugh at him if you want for a bit while I try and sort this out. But Matt with 2 T's is the groom in question. So everybody be sure to laugh at Matt in the chat. Oh, come on, little camera. Why won't you work? Bloody hellfire. And everybody in the chat, just wish Matt hopes he gets better soon. I hope you. Oh, there we go. Flipping hell, man. That is unfortunate to happen midway through. Just literally just doing nothing. Did somebody say favourite ice cream? Vanilla and chocolate, vanilla, salted caramel, top drawer, clotted cream. Favourite. It's this one that's like lemon sherbet one or whatever it is, that's like at this ice cream shop down the road. It is absolutely banging. Right, so let's get cracking with the colours. Yes. Okay, so lower the sketch down and we'll crack on now once you do some work. So on a separate layer, we're just going to chuck all this in and just use the wet sponge about 60% and start chucking in some colour. And yeah, block it all in. And then tweak and tweak and tweak. I love lemon. Love lemon anything. So yeah, that's what's been new, I think. I don't think, what else happened? Anything else happened? Mrs. Create, we went to go try on her wedding ring. That was cool. So she's having a nice custom one made. I think I might have already told you about this, but she's having a custom one made because of her engagement ring. So that's cool. And that was very, very cool to see. Citrus flavours, yeah, somewhat. Weirdly, I'm allergic to fresh orange juice, which is very strange. But yeah, I like, but then I like apple juice as well. I don't know if that counts. It doesn't count as it's not part of that family. Let's chuck this in there. Yes, that is exciting. It's very, very cool. Just really cool to see someone who has like their own, you know, that's her little, the lady's sort of creative output, I guess. And all the ideas that she had and stuff were very cool. Just cool to see someone like just know what they're talking about in their space and whatnot like that. And just, you can see the ideas flowing and stuff, which is very cool. So this is what I'm kind of referring to when I say that this isn't really a watercolor traditional style. If you were comparing this to actually a normal watercolor, although we're using the watercolor brushes, this is not, it doesn't really flow like that. I'm kind of just using them in a way to paint in what I want to draw, basically, or paint, whatever you want to refer to it as. So it's just like a normal drawing really for us, just using a different set of brushes that we've not used really yet. then we've got all this lovely colour. So that orange actually goes a bit higher than that and just wanders off over to the right. What's up, Nina? Nina, if you're here in the chat, well, thank you for joining the family. Enjoy the tutorials. They're actually all underneath the camera as well. So all of these ones under here are Patreon exclusive tutorials. So when you become a patron over there, you get access to all of the tutorials. Family over on Patreon keeps growing. So like, give you a bit of like insight, I guess. So typically, like on the last year, after sort of January, I think it starts to fall off a little bit. Not January, after Christmas. Typically has fallen off before, because I think people, you know, you have that Christmas period, you have the period where you've got a bit more time on your hands and maybe you take up little hobbies, but then getting back into the workflow and stuff, it takes a lot out of you time-wise. And I think a lot of people drop their Christmas hobbies a little bit more. Or maybe that wish of having an iPad for Christmas fades out pretty quickly and they stop. But yeah, Patreon sort of tends to fall back a little bit, but it hasn't this year. Fingers crossed, that is not a fluke. It has stayed nice and strong, and we are just progressing on. We are moving on, and the family keeps growing over there, which is sick. Especially when you know how much time you personally put into everything. To like see it just drop because of the time of year kind of sucks, you know. You kind of want it to keep going, and you know, you don't feel like you're doing anything different. It's just the time of year and the changes in it. So and then what I'm going to do is just quickly just dash in some darker patches in here. So there's the transition. These are going to act as like little shadow colours, which we'll just sort of cover over the top of, but they will help us later on with shadows. Layering in some darker tones to start with, and going from there. So that blue there, we'll chuck in this blue down here. We'll always start with your darker colours, because you can build on top then with your highlights. And then we'll chuck in some of these golder tones on the back. Let me come down here, chuck them in for a minute. Let them just run up the back to this sort of point up here. We'll overlap with blue later on, probably now actually. Just overlap that a little bit with some blue, trim that down. And we'll zoom in from there. I haven't drawn much in the past week. Hogwarts Legacy, oh my god, that game. So Mrs. Create was like, so Mrs. Create had a PS4 and I have a PS5, and she was like, nah, come on, you've got to get you've got to get the game, you know, we'll get early access and we can play it on the Wednesday, which was like, I don't even know how long ago now, but well, which Wednesday it was. Maybe it was just before the wedding, or was it after, or the week before? So yeah, I'm like, okay, fine, you know, your wish is my command, whatever. So we end up getting the early access bundle, and then just like losing it completely, like time wise. And then on the day we went to go look for her ring, there was a PlayStation 5 in stock. So the PS4 version don't come out till like, what is it? April. And so we were kind of taking it in turns. It was quite fun actually to play it sort of with each other, but we were taking it in turns, like backwards and forwards. And I was like, when we were over there and it was in stock nearby, I was like, listen, if you want it as a wedding present, or a wedding present, an early Christmas present, birthday, Valentine's, the whole lot, you can have it. We'll get it, and you can then crack on with your own one. So she ends up getting treated to a PS5, and now she's playing it as well. And we're just like, our lounge is ridiculous right now. Our lounge consists of we brought a telly down from elsewhere in the house. So we've got two tellies right next to each other, and she's playing on one, I'm playing on the other. It's just ridiculous, really. But we're loving it. It's such a good game. Such a good game. It has taken up a lot of time. It actually makes me a bit nervous, to be honest with you, talking about the game, because I know how much like backlash it's got. So that does really make me a little bit nervous talking about that. But I'm sure you're all friendly. Great stuff. Okay, that's in. Okay, we'll get some of these lines in, I think. So there's one line that runs just under here and around there. So it goes through here. Yeah, our line just turned into a full game room for sure. But she likes to game as well, so that is fun. And we're both interested in the same game for a change, rather than me playing Pokemon or FIFA. Then we're going to go round the underside of this eye. So then there's lines up here. We're going to create lots of lines. I'm not going to meticulously try and make sure they match up perfectly to the bird. I just want to make sure that these ones are all in certain areas here. So I'm gonna end up missing out on one of the lines, I think, just based off of the amount of space that I've given it. But that will do for a minute. Then we're gonna just darken up the underside of these feathers, which I spotted. It has like a nice shadow to it. Do you want to guess which house I am? You said Slytherin. Anyone else want to have a guess? Why would you say Slytherin? Kevin Hicks says, our big TV in the living room has been dominated by Breath of the Wild for the past few weeks. Breath of the Wild's a great game. Although it didn't really sort of capture me too much, it captured Mrs. Crate for sure. Judith, I followed your Planet tutorial yesterday as I'm new to Procreate on the iPad Pro. I was rewinding and pausing and started it a few times. Like, that's just the way it goes. That's what I used to do when I used to do tutorials back in the day. That's the only way I think you can do it, because as a creator, I don't know where you are in the design, and it's impossible to try and guess because everybody moves at different paces. So that is very much part of the process, my friend. So don't stress over that. A lot of people who do my tutorials eventually end up getting to the point where they tell me, like, they get to a point where they're like, no, I know what you're going to do next, because I can understand based off the last few tutorials that we've done, which is, to me, I love hearing that, because that tells me that you're really digesting it, you're really understanding everything, and yeah, that's great. That's really cool to hear. Oh, should we give this eye a little bit of a twinkle? That one's probably a bit too big. I liked that one before. Let's go to this brown colour, because that is the brown that sits on the edge over here. There's a little bit of brown. So this is a lot easier when the iPad's in landscape, because you can get a lot more of your reference photo in at the same time. So some of this I'm just taking artistic liberty with and just doing it, and we'll come back to it if we need to. But I'm going to get in the highlight that I can see that runs around here, underneath there, and also around the main part of the beak. So we'll reduce the brush size down to 1% maybe. Maybe make that a bit smaller again. Okay, so that mouth shape is a little bit off from me. That needs to, I believe, go a bit more like that. Yes, it does. Great stuff. And we will chuck in some more colour under here, where we can see those little highlights and stuff in the beak area. And you can grab your eraser at any point and just sharpen up any edges where need to be. I did the same thing last time. I made the eye a lot bigger, and I'm not against it. I think it looks cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to chuck like a darker colour in here for a minute to create like gaps in the feathers, so like shadows, and then just paint over the top of them. So we'll grab the green and we'll chuck some green on top of here and just let that kind of run into those other colours, which I really like. You said Slytherin because you got evil within. Nah. Oh, if I had a serious guess, maybe Ravenclaw. Bang on. Yeah. I did the little test thing that you can do online prior, so like it sorts you into your house and stuff. Yes, I got Ravenclaw. The creative ones apparently, so I'll take that. After all, it is the brand. Okay, so this has this really beautiful darker redder tone in there, and then also some nice dashes as it goes down. So I've got to try and just vary up my feathers a little bit and kind of send them in the directions that they need to go in. A bit more like this. And there is a much more red tone that I've got to chuck in here as well, which is going to primarily be over here. And we add in some really, really pretty white tones just towards the end. So yeah, we'll chuck in some nice colors like this for a minute, and we'll go in while I'm sort of working through it. I can do it a bit differently to how I would teach it. I'll probably chuck in some of the feathers and that now. That's fine, and we will go to this color here. We'll chuck in and we'll grab the orange and chuck in some that's fine for a minute. We're blocking in some color. Let's go to the blues and let's get them in as well. So there's like a little bit of a darker patch running behind here. We've got to get some darker tones in here because they help the highlights in a minute. So we're going to dash in some feathers in the direction that the feathers will go in. So they come sort of down that neck there a little bit, because we've got like the brightest tones over here to add in later on, which will look sick. Cheerio Robs, thank you for dropping in. I appreciate you being here. And then we're going to start getting in some more of these colours as well. So we will start to do that now. Bit of a quiet one tonight by the looks of it. So we'll block these in. We'll chuck some just dashes of feather lines basically. We're trying to just chuck them in the direction that they look as if they're going, which is like down here. So I'm just creating like line, 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 and just chucking them onto the screen. And we'll basically see what I end up with in my own design and then refine from there. Because we don't want to match this up perfectly. If we go back to the one that I finished, you can see there that this is kind of that end result. When we get those nice little white, crisp little extra accents on the top, it'll really sort of brighten it up a little bit. But that's kind of the finished goal, and we'll just keep going until we replicate that again in this one. So just kind of show you the process really of how you can create something a little bit looser. And that's something I'm trying to do a lot more, is just create content that is a lot looser in its styling, and not try to dwell over it too much. Just getting in the basics there. We'll grab in this blue here. Yep, we're all just chucking it in, dashing it in, trust the process. Exactly. Just chuck in the colour. That's one thing I'm trying to teach, isn't it? You'll know from a lot of the Patreon ones, or just the recent tutorials really. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to chuck in some dark, maybe even a slightly darker tone than that, like a less saturated one, in these gaps here to try and like just add in some more shadows. And then like up here we could just dash, scratch, as I like to say. It's like scratching in the details. I think if you can learn to sort of draw like this, it's a lot more carefree, but I think it's a skill in itself to learn to be carefree. Like they really do. Like you constantly want to like pick and add more content. I do it all the time. You know, you want to kind of break it down a bit more and add more content, but sometimes it's not really necessary. And I'm trying to teach myself that. We need a t-shirt with trust the process. I know. I keep saying about it, and I would love to get it sorted. I really would. I've got so much on at the minute, but it's in my mind. For sure. So I'm just trying to like darken up some of these feathers at the back a little bit, especially like where this yellow comes in, and then the blue overlaps it, kind of takes over on the very back here where it comes down the back of the sort of spine a little bit. I'm going to create probably a separate layer quickly just to add in the log. So that's the beauty of digital art in this particular aspect, because I can just create a separate layer and just chuck it in underneath. There's a lot of extra stuff that's going to happen towards the end in terms of like blending out and stuff, but for a minute we'll try to erase that edge and then maybe smudge it now, in fact. And just use the smudge tool on one of the wet brushes just to dilute it outwards. I love this look, just real like watercolor. A black hoodie with it on, would that be cool? I will get it done, trust me. It will be here soon, I promise. Because I would very much like to have that, even if nobody else wants to buy one. But it would be cool, wouldn't it, to have it like as a way for people to support the channel if they want to. Right, we'll leave that. Okay, so next up, I'm going to go back to those feathers, and I've got to start adding in these really bright tones, which are going to be almost final tones, almost. And I've got to get brave with chucking it in. So we will look at it. So basically what I'm seeing is here, there's like an arc here of brighter colour, and then it dashes its way all the way up to the top of the head. So like I could zoom in here. Let's make that a bit smaller while we're up in this area. Am I on the right layer? No, I'm not, that's why. Let's undo that. Let's go back up to where we should be, on top of there. And then, yeah, here we go. I was gonna say, because those blues are meant to be really bright, and then they're not showing at all. So they're gonna come down here. And they go down the back. And then they start to sort of branch out a little bit. So we'll just come down the back. And then that one kind of swoops somewhat into this feather here. That's fine. And then also like a couple of brighter streaks that come down there. One or two that just runs over the top of some of these feathers as well from the back area. Now I'm going to have to go in and just add some detail and stuff to the other feathers just to make sure that they kind of fit the style. And then let's just dash this in here, dash, 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 chucking it in like that. I like that a lot. Again, the colours are a bit, so I'm looking at the camera, I would say that looks a little bit too green compared to what it looks like. I'm happy to share the final result if you want on Discord or something, which if you want to check out, I'm sure there's a link in the description down below. But I'm trying to make a much more conscious effort to hang out in the Discord. I was only talking to Milo just the other day about how much like juggling the 2 channels at the minute is a lot. But just in general, it's just been a great year so far already. Like the channel's just doing so much growth, and there's a lot of comments to be replying to, and I hate leaving a comment untouched, and I hate it. It drives me crazy. So I'm trying my best to get back into the Discord, be sat in there, just leave that tab open during the day, and yeah, just be about if anyone needs me or wants to chat or hang out, whatever they want to do. We've got lots of different topics and forums in there, so you can talk about anything you want within reason, obviously. Oh, we didn't do anything down here. My bad. I thought we didn't. Totally missed that. Okay, we'll get that in there, and then there's another one just on the left of it, and then another one just under there too. We'll get some of this blue tone. I really like how just fun this style is. Like, there's just not a lot really to it. It's just very fun to be kind of less accurate with it. It would be good advertising, but I hardly leave the house. That is a good point. That's a good point. Good advertising, isn't it? Okay, so we then just want to like crack on with some like really white tones. Like, so maybe grab this color, and I want to turn off my stencil because that's kind of getting in the way now, and I want to just emphasize things that I want to brighten up, and I think I'll probably move to white. In fact, be brave, although I would recommend you never really go straight to white, but once you've done like extra highlights and accents like this, you can get away with it, because I want it to then have like a bit of a artistic look and a particular look to it, where we have these kind of like nice glossy, almost like glossy highlights just on some of the edges of the feathers, and maybe just like around this edge of the beak, like whiten that up a little bit, whiten this area up as well, dash in some white around here, maybe even just right on the eye as well, around the back area there, but just chucking it on and just seeing what lands really, because if you try to draw random, it won't work. I've tried to like teach myself that recently, that trying to draw stuff in randomly, it just doesn't work. You have to just literally just scatter the brush on and hope for the best. But I really like how these feathers look in here. I think they look really cool. And it's like my way of just kind of showing that some of these are really bright feathers, and they're just catching some light from wherever that light source is. A little something like that. Yep, happy with that. Maybe the odd little sort of streak down here. We don't want to add in too much. Just a few of those will look quite nice. Okay, So there's a couple of things I can adjust. I can bring these feathers around a little bit. Oh, hang on, what? Oh, we're on the wrong layer. We can bring these feathers round a little bit more. So erase into here, kind of tuck them under. I noticed that the shape had changed a little bit. I'm going to get rid of this a bit more, and I'm also going to get rid of a little bit on the excess on the back there. One thing you can do with a watercolor, which looks really cool. Oh, hang on. Discord is like a way of you being able to create like a private server for like your topic or whatever you want to talk about. So there's lots of little chats in there basically that you can just go and join in, and they have a particular topic. This style is fun and free. It's about to create exactly. One thing you can do with this style, you can duplicate your layer, which first of all, if you've still got like a really low opacity, it's going to give you like this much more saturated look. But if we clip that to the background a second, tap on it and clip it to the background, and then go to like adjustments and Gaussian blur, I can blur out the bird, and it will start to maybe spread some of the color in behind it. If I turn off the clipping mask, maybe that's a bit more apparent. That to me gives a bit more of a watercolor aesthetic, where you can just about see that change in there. It adds in a little bit more color, but it depends on if that's something you want to go for, because I could lower that down and maybe lower that down. I could even duplicate the bird and go to the smudge tool here and start to dilute the edges a bit more. So just chuck out, like literally just chuck some color out in different directions like that. That little bit of spread there looks really nice. Again, I think the camera's not really doing it too much justice, unfortunately. I'm just trying to spread out some of the color a little bit and let it bleed a bit more on the edges. Give it that much wetter look, especially down here. Let's do the same on the branch as well, I think. Let's just smudge using the wet sponge, I think it is. Really let that get really wet. Look, over here just looks really great. It just looks so realistic almost for that watercolor effect. So we can kind of bring the style round a little bit towards the end of like making it look a bit more watercolory, if that's something we want to do, you know, like smudging these colors out here, letting those just drift off into the background a bit more, and especially like a random point like here with the yellows, they'll look great. Oh, sorry, I was on the wrong layer. The yellows and stuff, they'll look great, like smudging these yellows out this way. You can always use the other watercolor brushes as well, like the splatters, they'll look cool. We can maybe push those greens out a bit more on the edges. A couple of the black colors. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. What was I just saying? Oh, the watercolor stuff. So we could go ahead and create a new layer towards the background. Grab some colors like this and grab the splashes and chuck some of these in the right areas. Will give us some nice blobs. That one looks perfect, absolutely perfect. Let's grab this blue here maybe and try and chuck that under here is where I want to get it. And I'll probably wet that in a second as well, just to smudge that out to make it look a bit more like what we were trying to achieve. This brush is driving me nuts. We could do something like that maybe. A little bit of the orange. Just run a stray in there. And maybe a bit of the green at the top. Do a water flick instead. We'll chuck them on and then we'll probably blend them out in a second. So chuck some of these splats on here for the branches. I'm really happy with the blue ones. So then we just go back in and we start to smudge and dilute these out. And like the difference between that solid shape there, hang on, there, like very solid. Just blending that out, really taking away from it. I'm going to go bigger on that and just leaving like the excess of a blob really, you know, gives you that illusion that it's there, but without making it too defined. Really love this smudge effect at this stage, especially with like bits like the yellow there. That'll look great. Chuck that on there, get rid of the majority of those, but just leaving the odd little splatter. I might even erase part of this area up here and then re-smudge it just to really blend it out. On the back here, we'll blend out some of the blue from that blob. And I'm happy with the odd one that looks really defined, you know, that looks really cool down here. I think that looks really sick. I felt brave doing the cherry blossom one, Lindsay says. I didn't agonize over it. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Was it the fact that you knew it was going to be a little bit more free and loose? Judith says, I missed the Gaussian blur on my planet, but 5 AM thought it would be best to get some sleep. Absolutely. That's the problem sometimes when you get drawing so late, you just can't stop. But that's, I don't know, sometimes I feel like that's not something you should fight. You should just keep going. Like if you're having fun and in that creative flow where things are just relentlessly not stopping in a good way, I think I'm all for it. Judy says, I love the sketch and doodle. Is that the sketch and doodle? Gives more depth. I can never go back to my layers to group. I guess it's all practice. I can never get my layers to group. Oh. You just have to tap on a layer, select another layer, and then go to group. And that'll do it. Swipe from left to right to select a layer. Wait, have you lost sound again? Surely not. Lindsay was saying, no, it was your encouragement in the video. You were like, don't worry how it looks. Don't spend time over it. I was like, I'm going to do it. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that sort of came through, because that's always something I hope that people are listening to, because it is important. Like, you don't need to care. Really don't need to care. That looks mad on that screen. It definitely doesn't look as crazy as that, but nor does that bird. Should we go rogue with it? Let's go to here. I want to kind of see if this does a better job of showing you. God, we've gone rogue, all right. What the heck is going on? So can you see those colours a little bit better? It's in portrait mode, so it's not, but that's what I mean. That's what the colours look like to me, not what the other one looks like. So if we compare the other two, can you see like the difference? Like that one there that you're seeing here is far more like turquoise than the one that I'm seeing. See, that's what it should look like in the camera in the top left. So yeah, that's 2 seconds. Let me just sort that out. Maybe that app's not the best one that is on that phone for the colours. So it looks darker and less saturated, I see. Yep, exactly. I mean, that looks crazy on this camera. I'm gonna have to try and work that out and try and maybe fix that, because that just looks rubbish. Roro says, what's the best method when working with layers? I just create random layers with no logic, to be honest. How I always create layers, typically if you were drawing, just use a mountain, draw the shape, create a second layer for your highlights and clip it to the mountain, create a third layer for your shadows, clip it to the mountain. If you're going to do something like that, in something like this, where I know I'm going to be doing something a bit experimental with, say, the splatters, they're on a separate layer. So this bird consists of technically, that one doesn't count. I don't know what this is. Oh, they're the white accents. We've got the white accents on top of the bird. We've got the bird itself. We've got the log, and we've got a Gaussian blur in the background, and we then also have the splatters. So I've broken that down into like 6 or 7 layers. I would say each individual element that's like a little bit different to the rest of the design. That's what I would say. So something that's going to be a bit different, like adding in a sun or a moon or your clouds. And then like imagine that you can maybe break those layers down into more layers. So like your clouds, maybe you add a second layer for your shadows, maybe you add a third layer for your highlights. That's what I do, because if you there's a video called Clipping Mask video on my channel. It's how to use Clipping Mask. I explain it in there and the beauty of using Clipping Mask, but the same logic applies to just using general layers. If you create something and your highlights and your shadows are separated, you haven't got to mess around with trying to change them later on. If you want to bring your highlights down, you can do. If you want to bring your shadows up, you can do, or vice versa. If you want to increase the highlights or you want to change the color of your highlights, it's on a separate layer. Like for me now, this whole thing's on one layer in terms of the painting, but if I wanted to change an aspect of it, such as like these highlights on the top, I can tap on it, I can lower them down if I feel like they're a bit too bright, I can do other adjustments, but the log is separated so that, again, if I wanted to, I could lower that down and make it like really transparent. Also blur that out without affecting the main subject. So it's very dependent on what it is you are drawing, though. That's the only thing I would say. It's very dependent on what you're drawing. But utilize them for sure. Like in some designs, they are not. In some designs, you can. If you're painting something like in a traditional way, like the robin design I've been doing recently, then that one you don't want to have lots and lots of layers. But for something like a landscape, I would put them on separate layers. I'll show you some layers in a second, actually. Thank you, Milo. I really appreciate you. You are an absolute star. Let's just quickly show you, say, another example of something with layers. Let's go into here. Okay, maybe this is a good example. Whoa, we got loads of layers in this one. Should we have a look? So this is the To the Beach design that was on Patreon. So when you take a look at that, there's lots of depth to it front to back. So what I do is I would try to break that down front to back with more layers. So you want your sky and beach, or sea back there, put that on one layer, chuck it at the back. I'm not interested in it. Palm trees, they want to be on separate layers. Again, for the beautiful benefit is if I change my mind and that tree is far too large and I hate it, or it's small, I can make it bigger, move it off to the left. I can reveal more of my sun. So the tree is, in terms of like, if you were to look at that as a real landscape, then that would be an individual item on its own, in its own space in depth. So yeah, I can have the freedom to move this around wherever I want. If we take a look at the layers, here of course there's a sandy layer at the very front, followed by another sandy mound right at the top. Now they ended up on one layer, and that's fine, but they're individual from one another. Again, you don't want to draw them side by side, because that would be a nightmare to try and shade this bank in, because that bank's right next to it. So if I was to do that, and I was to create a new layer here at the top, just ignore the color that I'm using. Let's go to textures and the where is it? Is it in here? Oh, dust brush. In here, if I wanted to try and shade this in, well, I've got to now be extremely meticulous over the fact that I cannot go too far up, because if I do, I'm going to run into that one there. Or vice versa, if I was to shade this in its darkest area down here, I'm going to end up running into this one. You're going to end up spending time erasing to try and get that nice and neat. So it's about utilizing it to make it more unique. You utilizing your layers to make them more useful. Can you hear me? Oh my god. Can you hear me? It seems like it's working. You can hear me. This always happens when we come back from stream and there's like a week off. If someone can hear me, then that's a good thing. It might be you, Milo. So yes, Roro, that's just a good example, my friend, of just separating things because they sit behind each other. If you create it all on one layer, it's just going to be a nightmare. Like, you can't break it up, you can't move stuff. Also, like, again, if I change my mind at the front here, and I go, well, that mound there is a little bit too close to the right, in fact, I'll move it off to the left, you have the freedom to do so. Likewise, you know, if I can move it up, I can move it down. It doesn't really matter. The logistics of that doesn't really matter too much. It's just giving yourself more options. That's it, basically. Giving yourself some more options with what you can achieve. 2 secs, let's just flick that back around. Oh, Jay, also, sorry, I saw you and I didn't say hello. I appreciate you dropping in. How you doing? What did we draw on? Oh, we did the love design and the cherry blossom. Let's take a look at that one for a second. That was really care. Thanks, Emil. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Very clear. Gotcha. The cherry blossom one. This one did really well. I really enjoyed how loose I ended up making. Again, you can see you've already seen this before, so it's not that saturated. This is driving me nuts, so I will have to fix that. But the cherry blossom one was sick. Like, I love it. I loved how it just turned out. Like, this, weirdly, this down here is my favorite piece of the whole thing. It's the way that these lines go around here to show you a flat surface at the top, and then just zigzagging through here, creating random rocky look to it. Like, it's just I don't know, something about it is just sick. Like, just being very loose with it. I'm trying my best to like stop saying that, but it's true. I'm enjoying that style because, again, I feel like I ended up going through a phase of trying to make things look super detailed and granular, but I also want to adjust my skill set to also be free to just go bang, just throw up on the page and see what happens, kind of thing. But this tutorial did really well. Very pleased with how it did. I'm going to show you what else did we do that kind of gives you a good example of something else, like being a bit loose. Oh, this one was it, wasn't it? This was the other YouTube tutorial. Again, keeping this one nice and loose compared to what I would normally do. I'd normally paint that in properly with a monoline brush, but we were using the brushes, using this really cool edge effect as well. Just making it look streaky and cool, like a painting. Very fun. Very fun. Whereas we have other tutorials that are far more like trying to be more accurate and too detailed and overdoing it. Oh, by the way, this tutorial that you've seen, or the drawing I did today, there is a very similar one on Patreon. If you're our patron already, or you may not have seen this before, this is a tutorial. This photograph actually only consists of one bird, but we end up creating the bird a friend. It's basically like cloning it almost, and creating this bird here on the left. So there's actually the process there at the top. We would go from original photograph, creating a sketch of the bird, and then painting that in as well, and trying to create a somewhat realistic bird look to it. And looking at the camera, I don't think you'd be able to tell too much which one is which, or they just look like a friend on the branch. But yeah, that's a tutorial over on Patreon. So if you want to test your metal with that, that's a good one. Very fun one to do. Funky's here. How you doing, Funky? Good to see you. Good. Let's go full second. So yeah, that's like one that's very detailed, but I'm having a lot of fun at the minute. This year I feel really on it with the designs, really on it, which is really fun. Obviously you probably already seen this. If you haven't already, this was yesterday's Patreon exclusive tutorial, the final one for February. This is a hand cramper to draw this in. Like the actual main one looks more like this on its own. So we draw in the elephant line by line by line. We then fill in some of the gaps like this, so that it gives it a bit more of a fun look to it. And then we do like an inverting process where we have this added in at the top here, plus the texture everywhere else. So that creates like a really fun negative space. And also it's very cool because you can just grab this circle, and if you wanted to like do something a bit more edgy, like just something like that or something, you could do that. It just follows you around with the negative look to it, which is really quite fun to look at and watch. So that's the latest Patreon tutorial. This one, like, I really love this style, and it's actually really inspired by an artist on Instagram, and I would love to find his account, but I would need to wait until his videos pop up in my feed again. But yeah, this tutorial is like, I love this tutorial. I got like some comments that I wasn't too sure if it was going to go down very well, but it really it's one of those things where I have to follow through with it and like carry on with the style and just see how it goes, because the people will like it and people won't like it, and that's fine. That's just how it goes, like, because I'm a variety creator in a sense. It's not all landscapes all the time or something like that. I like to try and make cool different stuff. So yeah, I was just like intrigued to see the response. So I'm sure some people will love it. And there's another line drawing design like this that's coming on YouTube this week. So if you like the one that comes out on Friday, you may want to go ahead and join Patreon just to get this one. So yeah, if you want to join my Patreon, you get access to all 62 tutorials now. It's not difficult. I'll guide you through the whole process, because we start with just a stencil, as you can see here, and we just crack on from there, and I'll talk you through the whole process. It's just a hand cramper, that's all it is. It really hurts you, like it hurts me, let's put it that way. It hurts my hand for sure, but I love it, and I'm really tempted to do more like it, whether it's not on YouTube, I don't know. We'll see how it goes on Friday, but I'm tempted to do more like this. The one on Friday is like, it's more intricate than this one, but the elephant one just like stood out to me as like, that has to go on Patreon. But yeah, the one on Friday is a little bit more detailed. There's a lot more line work in it, smaller line work as well. So yeah, I'm glad you like it though. You find the line drawing very therapeutic, for sure. It's just a lot of, that's what I said in the video, it is very therapeutic. It compared to something like a bit different, like drawing like a landscape or something like that, that has like lots of stages to it and lots of like mini things to do, whereas this really, it's just one big task. It's one big task to create it from start to finish, and just carry on with your lines and be consistent. Like doing the ears, like, you know, you got to start up here and just do line, and then start to arc your lines across and across and across, and then you've got to make them really big and go from side to side, keep going. And every little like bump and lump you make, I think looks amazing, because it makes, even though it's technically like not correct, to me it looks like that's actually like a bit of skin on the ear. Like, it's not perfect, is it? The ear of a an elephant, it's got like lumps and bumps in it. So creating stuff like this just looks really cool to me, because I think it just gives it that less smooth surface look and makes it look far more intricate. What is the surprised face there for, Milo? Or did I say something? I don't think I said something that was bad. Or did I? Oh, okay, it's a start. Gotcha. So yeah, that's very fun, and I'm really looking forward to people seeing Friday's design. Just seeing if it goes down well. Also, I've completely thrown the 30-minute window of doing tutorials. it's gone now. I couldn't give a monkey's anymore about trying to hit a 30-minute mark. I want to draw stuff that I want to draw, and if it takes too long, if it takes longer than half an hour, that's just what it takes. Like I've had to reset my brain where I'm just like, I'm done, like, with a 30-minute anymore. We can't achieve enough in 30 minutes. It's not enough time. Not when I'm trying to also, in my style, talk and guide people through step by step. It doesn't give me enough time to get people from A to B, start to finish. So, yeah. Lindsay's looking forward to the 1st of March Patreon. That one's a little beauty as well. I'm really pleased with that. I don't think I can show it on stream because technically it's a sneak peek. So, but if you know, you know. Yeah, if you know, you know. You'll have seen it. You'll have seen it on live stream anyway, like a couple of weeks ago. What's up, Cheryl? Hey, Joel. Looks great to me. I appreciate that, Cheryl. This is a tutorial that's on Patreon at the minute. Just went live yesterday. There's a similar kind of style to this one going live this week on YouTube. Should we have a look at anything else maybe that I have been wanting to talk about? That one went live. I can't wait until you see this Robin design. Like, I cannot wait. The detail that I've managed to pull out of it was better than the one that I initially shared on Patreon as like a would you like this. I think I managed to get more detail out of it, which is sick. Very pleased. Oh, we haven't yet spoken about the love design, actually. Should we go back and take a look at that for a second? I like to go back and review them in a sense, because I can maybe work out what I would adjust if I was to come back to it with a fresh mind. This one, I wouldn't really, I mean, the camera is absolutely slaughtering this colour. I'm really sorry. That just looks so shit on that camera, but maybe I need to go get one this weekend. I don't know. We'll work that out. But the Robin one, like, the detail in it, I've managed to do. I'm very, very, very pleased with it. It's probably one of my favourite pieces, but I always say that, I think, because it's new. I think it's just that sense of achievement with them. I kind of get that point where I'm like, you know, I'm so happy with what the achievement is of it, that it's like my new favourite, but that just happens every single time. Show the swans. The swans one was very, very fun. Very, very fun. Again, okay, so that's kind of on topic what we were talking about today, is keeping things nice and loose. The swans one, this one here, so fun. Like the frame at the top, if we get rid of the frame, I think that already looks pretty cool as it is. You could arguably ditch the frame if you wanted to, but the looseness of the background, I don't care for it. The looseness of just chucking in the colour on top. There are a few rules to it though. You know, you have to start off with some of your lighter tones before you get to your darker tones. That's just a little bit of a rule, especially like with the back of the neck and these areas here with the feathers on the back. But also, like the water, I don't care for it too much in a good way. I would argue that potentially the swans are too solid for the style. What I mean by that is like the background's really got a lot of texture to it. These are almost like solid colour. So you could argue that they could do with like a layer on top of them of some sort of detail to break them up a little bit more. You know, maybe like a really dark navy. Can you remember? I don't even remember what the brush was. Or maybe it was the Nico Rum. What, like, you know, they could arguably have like a little bit of like a run over in some way, like not like that fully, but as an idea, you know, you could do something like that to sort of tie them into the style a bit more, or even just like erase into them or something to just give them a little bit more texture rather than be so solid. But I think I don't think I would ever change it. I think it's just things that you look at later on and go, maybe you could do that. The frame's cool. I like the frame. I wonder if the frame would look cool, you know, in a different colour. Like, I wonder if that looked good in like a blue. Like a little bit something like that, maybe. Drop the saturation down a little bit more. Increase the brightness, it's a bit brighter, a bit whiter, or darker. Dark looks kind of cool. But I think the white looks quite nice. Or the blue. Let's go back to there. Like a little something like that. That looks quite nice. Thanks guys, I appreciate that you like. Oh, hang on. Oh, hush Joel, I made mine look like this on purpose. Loved in the swans again, learning not to spend time agonising over it. Absolutely. Do not do that. Not at the minute, not with some of the stuff we're doing. Like the next Patreon one that comes out on the 1st of March, that one's where you kind of just need to like, you do need to have that kind of time spent to look at it, and that one's gonna need a little bit more focus, like, and a little bit less of the looser feel to it. But that's just because of that type of style. And I think it's good for you guys to also understand that like there's different styles to do it in. So like what I mean by that is like you'll find a style that you prefer either way, and maybe you start to focus down that channel instead of hyper detail. You go down the loose style, or you don't like the loose style, it's not for you and you can't achieve what you want to achieve, so you go down the more detailed look. I think it's good to definitely have that change around, which is for me what I like to do. I like to create that variety, you know. Oh god, this robin design is just beautiful. I can't show you. I want to show you, but I can't. I can't even do it. Oh, do you want to see a early concept of what the swans tutorial looked like? This might be kind of interesting to see. This is what the swan, as a very, very quick sketch, like I was chucking it together. Obviously they look a bit rubbish for like posture and stuff, but as a concept. But this had like even more of the looseness and blasting in color that doesn't really fit but kind of looks cool. You know, if you look at the body of that swan, there's like blues there, light teals, bit of like a grey green tone, bit of orange, grey again, blacks and browns at the bottom. I was having so much fun with this in terms of just bit more color, just like chucking stuff in and just seeing how it comes about, because I think that still looks pretty cool, but it just looks a bit like yeah, it's just it's different, but it's like that's that fun of just being like bam 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 bam, see what sticks, and just leaving residue left over from the last color. And yeah, just stuff like that. They look a bit crap, the heads and the neck. Like these swans have been on diets or something. They look awful, or worse for wear. But yeah, just like that little, that's how the original concept came about. That was my initial version of it. And I wonder if I had like a time lapse of it. I don't know what's going to be in this time lapse. Just like blasting in the color. We had some fun with like changing the background. So we get into some purples, some yellows, some navies, attacking the reflection underneath. A really fun glow from the sun with those like, or moon, whatever it is. Went through lots of different, you see that color change there? Did you see that go from like this sort of blue navy tone? And then I go to hue saturation, I think, and I just change it. I changed the sun here from yellow to white. And then I think it just, there, see that? It just changes from navy and dark to a tealy colour with then the yellow, and then adding in more shadows, it looks like. Just lots and lots of adjustments. That's what I tend to do with like when I'm creating a concept for a tutorial, is I'll like mess with hue sliders, I'll just change this, that and the other, and just see where we can come out with, see what we can come out with. Texture looks cool though. I like the texture. Don't worry, I won't steal anything. I haven't been able to draw much lately. It's not that. It's just I can't show everything because it's sneak peeks of content that's coming out soon. Well, not content that's coming out soon, in the future. So, what did Funky say? They need to wind their necks in. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they look a bit naff. This was the concept. This is just to sort of show you this final one. This is the concept for that lighthouse design. That's how that initially started off as. Oh, we're back. Oh, we're not. We're back. We're not back. We'll be right back with you, folks. I'll smash this phone up. Hello, FB. Sorry, my friend. I'm sorry. Well, my camera decided to have a meltdown. Been following along with a lot of your tutorials. Thanks. You are very welcome, my friend, and I'm glad you're enjoying them. Yeah, that might be a sign to call it a night, but extremely frustrating. It's literally just perfectly fine. It's not died. Battery's not dead in any way. It's just been an absolute little sod. Anyone want to donate a camera? Anyone got one? Anyone? I think it's coming back. It may never come back. Who knows? God almighty. Oh god. Oh my days. Wait, that is that one, so wait. I think that's it. I think we're done. It's not working. Oh, lovely stuff. Great way to end. Well, we'll wrap it up there anyway. That's my my sign. Make sure we give it another go. Another go. Ah, of course not. We flip the cable upside down. We'll have one more go that way, maybe. Yeah, that's the problem with Lindsay, right? Is she's saying everything I'm thinking and just voicing it to the world. But no, it is my pissing fault for having a week off. At this rate, if this doesn't work again next week for whatever technical reason, I might have to have a week off, you know what I mean? Yeah, someone set that GoFundMe up. We'll sort that out. It doesn't want to work. Right, sod it. Forget it. I'm done. I'm finished. I'm finishing early. Screw it. Guys, thank you for hanging out. I would show you what we've drawn today, but I can't. Listen, thank you all for hanging out with me, even with this absolute shit show of break. The mic went midway through the stream. That decided to stop working. Camera's gone, nah, I'm mad enough. I'm done with this lot. Forget it. And now, yeah, we're back here. So, listen, thank you as always for hanging out with me on your Wednesday morning, evening, afternoon, wherever the hell you are in the world. It don't really matter. As long as we're all having fun, that's all that matters. Please be sure to, I'll share my Parrot on Discord afterwards. If my iPad obviously doesn't explode or something. It's probably one more thing to come in. It happens in threes. I will, yes, keep an eye out for the new line design that comes out on Friday on YouTube. I cannot wait for you to see it. I'm sure you're going to love it, but let me know in the comments of it. I really want to know what you think of it, and maybe we'll make some more. Maybe we'll make some more of that style. I'm going to go wait for the third thing to happen in my evening. So enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for hanging out. I love all of you very much, and I'll see you again. Well, I'll see you again next week. Why not? If this camera wants to work. You might not see me. That's the problem. Ciao. Hang on a second. Before we go, Judith, are you still here? Because Judith just joined the family over on Patreon. Judith, if you're still here, I appreciate you hanging out with us over on Patreon. Enjoy the tutorials. Welcome to the family. Any questions, let me know over on Patreon. You can message me over there. And if anyone else wants to come and get access to all the tutorials, links in the description down below. Judith, thank you for joining the family, and I'll see you all again next week. Love you.